Hello everyone, it's Skill here from the Grim Reapers, and today I will be doing a hardware review for the Thrustmaster Viper TQS Throttle Quadrant System Mission Pack. For the purposes of full disclosure, Thrustmaster contacted us here at the Grim Reapers and asked if we would be interested in carrying out a review of their soon to be launched Viper TQS, and sent me one out for the purposes of this review. They did not ask for any favourable comments, only that I provide a fair and honest assessment. First of all, a quick overview of the Thrustmaster Viper TQS and the different options which will be available at launch. The Viper TQS is Thrustmaster's successor to the classic HOTAS Cougar throttle of the early 2000s, and it's their first addition to the high-end HOTAS hardware scene since the launch of the venerable HOTAS Warthog in 2010. The Viper TQS includes a 1:1 scale replica of the throttle handle and is officially licensed by the US Air Force. When the Viper TQS launches, it will be available as a complete set, i.e. the Viper TQS Mission Pack, which includes the throttle base and the Viper panel, and is also what I'll be reviewing today. You will also be able to purchase the Viper TQS and the Viper panel as separate items. Okay, let's get on with the review. I'll start with a quick unboxing. Included in the box is the usual warranty card and quick start manual, as well as a USB-A to USB-C cable and the Viper TQS itself. No assembly required, as the whole unit comes ready to go out of the box. The Viper TQS is constructed of a mixture of metal and plastic parts. The throttle handle itself, the mounting arm, tilt mechanism, finger lever and detent rail are all metal. As is the push rod style workings for the throttle's main axis. The majority of the throttle base and the Viper panel appear to be plastic, with a decorative brushed metal faceplate with Thrustmaster written on it, just in case you forget who makes it. The floor of the base appears to be a heavier metal, meaning that, taken all together, the Viper TQS Mission Pack has a fair bit of weight to it and feels quite sturdy. The throttle grip feels solid and smooth, its movement on the rail feels excellent, and the mechanism for moving from idle to cut off, and vice versa, feels crisp with no slop. The friction for the throttle travel can be adjusted by means of a small grub screw, which is located on the rear of the base, here. Thrustmaster have included a correct sized Allen key, and it's kept here. The buttons and switches on the grip all feel of high quality and have a nice clicky tactile feedback. All of the axis controls are smooth and have a physical center detent. As well as the buttons and switches you would find on a real F16 throttle grip, Thrustmaster have added a few extra controls to the grip. There is a push button function to the antenna elevation axis control. There's a pinky style switch or a paddle lever on the underside of the grip. And last but not least, there is a 3-way switch, which is positioned just aft of the speed brake switch. I have this bound to recenter my VR headset and the two different VR zoom levels. Moving to the Viper panel, as I say, it feels pretty sturdy. The top of the panel features an adjustable backlight, and overall I think it looks well made. All of the 2- and 3-way toggle switches feel very firm and high quality. The heading adjust rotary encoder has a push button function. The 3 other rotary knobs all feel very firm, and there's very little chance you'll accidentally turn one. The 4 push buttons for the RWR controls and the emergency jettison button all have a nice tactile click. There's also an analog slider axis with a center detent. The landing gear lever has a lock feature, meaning that you have to pull it outwards by a small amount before you can move the lever between the gear up and gear down positions. The upper section of the panel, where the landing gear lever and the emergency jettison button are located, also has gear indicator LEDs, as well as 2 rows of 5 LEDs. I'm not sure what these are for, and as I'm using an early access version of the drivers, I can't get them to work to find out. Anyway, let's all relax for a few seconds and just listen to some sounds. Let's have a look at the mounting options. The base comes with 4 non-slip rubber feet attached, so technically you can use it on a tabletop. However, due to the nature of the device, I would highly recommend having it mounted down to something, whether that be on your tabletop or some kind of mounting solution. The base of the Viper TQS has some M6 threaded mounting holes on its underside. However, as the base is different in size from other throttle units, like the Warthog throttle, the hole spacing is also different. Fortunately for anyone who is currently using a mount for a Warthog-sized base, you will find that although the spacing between the holes lengthwise is different, the spacing between the holes widthwise is the same. So you can fix your TQS to your mounting plate of choice, well, at least with 2 screws, which I found to be sufficient in testing. Installing the Viper TQS mission pack is very straightforward. As the Viper panel is connected directly to the throttle base, there is only one USB-C connection on the base, which connects to the PC via the provided USB-C to USB-A cable. Once connected and the driver installed, again I'm using an early access version of the driver, I made sure that everything was working correctly. I was also advised to make sure that the Use Virtual Buttons box was checked, as this would allow the software to provide the correct switch positions to DCS. This meant that once I opened up DCS, the Viper TQS and the panel controls were all pretty much completely pre-bound in-game. Even the position of the throttle grip going into afterburner or into the idle cutoff were matched in the throttle axis in-game. Whilst flying in DCS using the Viper TQS, I found that the movement of the throttle grip was smooth, with there being enough friction to hold the grip in the position where I put it, but not enough friction to cause any sticking or jerkiness to the movements. The mechanism for moving from cut-off to idle felt tight and crisp, and going into afterburner was easy with a slight tilt of the grip. All of the buttons and switches on the grip are easy to access and use from your natural hand position on the grip. Some of the switches and buttons on the Viper panel can be a little more tricky to use due to their locations under the throttle grip, but nothing show-stopping. In conclusion then, what are my thoughts on the Thrustmaster Viper TQS Mission Pack? It's a bit of a mixed bag really. When I first saw the images of the TQS, I thought that it looked a bit toy-like, and I didn't really like some of the aesthetic choices which Thrustmaster had made. I think that toy-like impression led me to think that it would be flimsy, and I almost wrote off the countermeasure slap switch as a wee gimmicky afterthought. But once I had it in hand, I must admit, my impressions of it changed immediately. Everything feels nice and solid. The grip handle and all of the running gear for that are all metal, which makes it feel very real and very sturdy. I like the feel of the movement of the throttle through its entire range of motion, including the pinky lever to move it in and out of idle cut-off, and the slight twist of the wrist to move it into afterburner. It's just nice. The controls on the grip all feel precise and pleasant to use. It also turns out that the countermeasure slap switch, which I had initially written off as a wee gimmick, is actually great to use. My only concerns or issues with the whole device are with the Viper panel. Nearly all of the switches and knobs feel solid and high quality, as you would expect from a premium brand like Thrustmaster. The one control that in my opinion feels like the weak link of the whole unit is the landing gear lever. To me, it feels a little plasticky and flimsy, like if something is going to go wrong or break, that will be it. Which is a shame, as it should be one of the most prominent controls on the whole panel, and I feel like it just detracts a bit from an otherwise great device. Another minor gripe I have is Thrustmaster's placement of some of the panel switches. I mean, instead of having the upper panel containing only the landing gear lever and the emergency jettison button, and then filled up with some LEDs, they had the opportunity to move some of the more relevant switches up to that end of the panel. But as I say, that's just a personal preference type me problem. Overall, I like the Thrustmaster Viper TQS. I think it's a great throttle unit for anyone who flies the F-16 in DCS or any other sim. As for the question of value, this is an expensive device, no matter which configuration you purchase, and, as with everything in the world of flight sim controls, only you can decide if it's worth it to you. For what it's worth, I can highly recommend the Viper TQS as a great addition to anyone's F-16 rig. Well, thank you all for taking the time to watch this review, and I'll catch you later.